What's going on, everybody? We are here, Seven Oracles, checking in. Guys, if you don't mind shouting out, where are you in America right now, everybody? Because it's getting hot out here. It's getting hot. Gene, you want to start with you?
Yeah, I'm in Tampa, Florida. Trust me, I'm in the depths of the heat. So 98 plus every day. Tampa, Florida right now. Shout out to all the people in Tampa and all of the surrounding cities that think that everybody from Tampa don't like them because we're just better. Like, don't be mad because we're better. Just get better. That's all.
I mean, we don't have a ton of control over the weather and the conditions, but I agree. We should all try to get better and do the best job that we could possibly do. Nando, we're sharing weather right now. Is that correct?
Yeah, Benny is too. Benny,
you are as well. Yeah, we're all kind of in the same boat. So I just want to get right into it. First of all, thank you for being patient with me, you four, and then everyone who watches here. It's my first live stream with you guys, and I've been a part of many group text, email chains, things like that, but I'm excited to finally get my feet wet. So thank you all for being patient with me, and I hope I can deliver a little bit on being worth the wait. And I just wanted to say hello and thank you to everyone watching. And I feel like maybe Malik Beasley increased case that he's watching right now too, because people like to wager on their sports. I don't know if we're catching up with the news today. Had I seen that last night, I think we'd be talking about that a good amount because it's getting pretty interesting out there. Any comments on? I know it's not on the rundown. Anyone caught up on the Malik Beasley news? Did you see what's going on there? A little bit of a Terry Rozier situation.
Oh no, is he caught up in that?
Yeah, no, not in that. It's a whole new one. He's betting on games. There's all kinds of videos out there of him just sprinting down to get a layup with 2 seconds left in a 20-point game. We have a lot of excitement. So if he's watching, because I feel like he might be looking for tips as well. I just wanted to give a quick shout out to him for being in the news.
I'm getting the tweet out for everybody, by the way. I'm getting the tweet out. Everyone just check it in a minute.
Got you. So we're going to have, so first off, guys, it's a very, I don't know if you're feeling the amount of patriotism that I've been feeling around here. I'm not saying me personally, although sure, but I mean, just very America out there these days. July 4th weekend, the 250th anniversary, you had the White House UFC event. The U.S. soccer team's got a lot of momentum. So you're going to see a lot of, I kind of want to focus on that today. I feel like there's a hyper focus on our nation because of all the sports fans you're seeing, all the people from Denmark experience Cracker Barrel for the first time and things like that, and really blowing some minds out there. So it starts again with the heat wave. We got a lot of different concerns out there between all the different sports going on, the people going out doing barbecues. It's supposed to be hot as hell out there. So especially out there, Vegas, Phoenix, Philadelphia. You guys, you ever take any interest in the weather when you talk about the live markets, or is that something that's a little too unpredictable for you?
I haven't touched it yet, personally.
We did a little something. We did a little something earlier in the spring. We were rocking with our Weather Edge tool over at the 7oracles.com. Benny and I were keyed in on LA. We're able to slide a few, a few greenbacks in off of LA for a few days, but then we got sidetracked because the Bitcoin Edge tool was just all the rage, and we were all having so much fun with that we kind of went away. It's so much over there at the 7oracles.com, and this is a shameless plug because it's our show, right? I will say this, by the way, as we're talking, Japan is up 1-0 on Brazil. Benny, if you remember, we were talking about this. We were talking about this before we came on. The projections on the 7oracles.com for all of our World Cup stuff was one of our actionable takes was for the game to go over 2.5 goals. One of the other takes was that for both teams to score. And I said that one of the avenues to this was for Japan to score really early and then make Brazil have to really open up and play like a more like aggressive game, which, if they equalize, now we're right in that boat. So interesting that that's gone on so far. But yeah, definitely rocking with the Weather Edge tool there, man. So I think it's
let me hop in here real quick, Jinx. There's a couple things about the Weather Edge tool. You mentioned LA. So the Weather Edge and the whole point of the edge is that there are edges in everything. And with prediction markets, you're going to be able to bet on everything. So you got to find what those edges are. So I'll give one out real quick here on LA and why we made money on it that day. And a lot of people out there who played like DFS baseball or anybody who bets on baseball will know this too. So when you have coming off of the Pacific Ocean, when you have that marine layer that they call it, which is basically when the wind is blowing in from the Pacific Ocean. You get a little bit of like a foggy, hazy cover over the entire area. Well, just think about it. If you have the sun beating down on a foggy, hazy cover, it's going to be a little bit cooler in the areas closer to where the ocean and where that fog and haze are coming in. For those of us like Chris and Nando and myself on the East Coast, it's the same thing when the wind's blowing in from the east and you're down at the Jersey Shore in the summer, and it's a little bit cooler on the beach than it is when you're in on the mainland on wherever you're from in New Jersey. So it's a good idea to be betting some of those unders on the day that that the marine layer or the wind is going to be blowing in from the west. And that's kind of what we did a little bit with the Weather Edge tool here. After we put it in, we've been calibrating it for, when has it been hitting? When has it been not hitting? And the thing that we notice is the no's are hitting better than the yeses. So you want to be betting the unders on certain things rather than the overs on them. So, if it's like, will it be 75 degrees in New York today? The other thing that you really got to do, and some guy actually beat the system and made a bunch of money on this a couple months ago. I don't know if you guys remember the story, but every one of these in New York, in LA, it's all at a certain spot. There's like one temperature gauge that they're using, and a lot of them happen to be the ones that are around the airport. So I don't know how this guy was able to get into whatever the airport he got into, but he went in with a hairdryer and basically just stood there under the thermometer with a hairdryer, bet a whole bunch of money on yes, it was going to go over, and just like did it up until that point right at like 5 minutes before the time where they say they take it from, and it wound up hitting a new high for the day. And the guy cleaned up by putting a bunch of money on like a 2 or 3 cent market that nobody thought was going to get there. So not that happens very often, but those are the kind of things. And like I said, there's an edge in everything with these prediction markets. You just got to know how to find it, how to dig into it. And that's what we try to do over here is, rather than you guys going and using a hairdryer, we're trying to give you the edge so that you don't have to go and get yourself arrested for it.
Sometimes you got to create your own luck out there, but so if it takes a hairdryer to change the weather, then that's what you got to do. So, you know what? Shout out to that guy. If we ever have a chance to talk to him, we should try to do that.
Yeah, shout out to the scammers. Like those scams that don't hurt any like normal regular people. Like sometimes
just a creative scam.
Yeah, and listen, he does have a GoFundMe. So if you guys feel bad for him, you can throw some money in there because I don't think he got to keep the money he won from Polymarket on it or from Calci.
Yeah,
I do like that he's out there doing like live action market vigilantism. Like going out there and just doing what he can for the people. Nando, I'm going to do a callback from years and years ago, and I'm not sure who was with us, but we spent a lot of time at a bar with Kobayashi one time. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, yeah, man.
We had a lot of conversation about the Nathan's hot dog eating contest and his kind of competitive, I guess the word beef is a little too on the nose, right? We can't really get into that. But with Joey Chestnut, who's an absolute legend. So I noticed on Calci and Polymarket both today, and I'm just curious because you guys spend a lot more time on this stuff than unfortunately I'm able to. I've never seen a market and such a dominant favorite in anything like the Nathan's hot dog contest that actually has a market with and without Joey Chestnut. They have a second place. Like there's not even, it doesn't say second place. It's here's one without Joey Chestnut of what the world might look like if he didn't exist, which I think is really interesting because you don't really see, obviously we're not talking about organized sports in a traditional sense, but there is no, Nathan has to step in. There's no parity here, Nando. There's nothing going on that makes it interesting outside of the spectacle that is eating so many hot dogs in 2 minutes. And my first thought was Crazy Legs because we had this conversation with Kobayashi. Yeah. It was like 15 years ago. And Kobayashi was still, this name Crazy Legs came up. He's a part of every hot dog eating contest. And I just feel like he's never gotten his day. But he's kind of maybe like the Timberwolves or the Pacers, where you're just like, you're always in the conversation, but you're just never getting the parade. And I guess, is that better than nothing? Or is it kind of always a bridesmaid, never a bride, a bad thing in this world? Did he carve out a nice thing for himself, a bad thing for himself? And most of all, at a 91% chance against the entire field, is it worth going against Joey Chestnut at this point, even for the sake of it? And is it anti-American to go against Joey Chestnut?
I think Crazy Legs had the advantage too. Like for whatever reason, Maxim, or maybe it was FHM, latched onto him. And this is going back 15.
That's how long ago we're talking about print magazine FHM.
Yeah. But Crazy Legs Conti was because it was Kobayashi who was great and he was flashing. He was amazing. He was doing like superhuman things. I don't think Joey Chestnut had really arrived yet. And so like back then they were also Rans, and Crazy Legs just found a way. Like they profiled him, Maxim. He was like kind of Maxim made him their like unofficial, guy for the thing. And so like each contestant right now, if you're not Joey Chestnut, like you've got to find either a cool nickname or like, wear something ridiculous, because you're not getting, no one's noticing second place, especially if you're losing by 50 hot dogs. So unless they do another Kobayashi challenge, which I don't think is going to happen, at least anytime soon. I mean, they did the thing for Netflix, but I don't think they're going to let him back into Nathan's after all this time. I think or I don't even know if people want to go, but maybe, I mean, even in the women's side is dominated by Miki Sudo. So like, you've really got to do something to capture the attention of all the media that's there. Like throw up, like just do something that's going to make people remember your name. Because right now it's like, I think Patrick Bertoletti might be the number 2 guy. And like, okay.
So now, is it worth for that 30 seconds? The only thing I can compare it to, funny enough, is the Kentucky Derby, of like something we really don't watch at all. But for 2 minutes, it captures the imagination of the entire country.
Imagine if one of the horses was pink. You'd remember that horse forever.
Yeah, you would. But
is this one of those cultural or like one of those, because
like a two American situation?
Yeah, like because the Nathan's hot dog eating contest is not a thing for me in my nobody watches that.
Is it an East Coast thing? Because it's Coney Island. I thought
I'm from Jersey.
Oh, so you didn't care back then?
No, never.
Oh, I feel like it's a pretty big deal.
Like no one that I know, and I'm characterizing this by the 2 Americas. Nobody that I know on one side of America cares about the Nathan's hot dog eating contest. Everybody that I know in the other America pays attention one day out of the year.
I didn't know that.
There's an entire competitive eating world out there that nobody pays attention to until Nathan's on January 4th, and they all look like you guys.
So handsome Italians from New Jersey.
What's wrong with
handsome Italians from New Jersey? Yeah.
Hey, Kobayashi does not look like me. I gotta say.
That's like an international thing, though. I never really would have pegged.
I'm thinking 2 Americas, though. 2 Americas, right?
Everyone's got ESPN.
Now, so Gene, let me ask you. You're saying that then when you hear 4th of July, if you had to write down synonyms, Nathan's hot dog contest doesn't make it onto your list.
Never.
That's my point.
Never.
No, I feel like it's like an American. It's very much. Am I wrong?
I've watched it. And guess who I was around when I watched it?
Such a good-looking guys from New Jersey.
A bunch of good-looking Italian guys from New Jersey. Like and when I watched it, I went. This was my thought process the entire time. Like, why would somebody do this?
Well, that's everyone's. I will say that's. I don't think anyone looks and says they're excited.
I didn't look at it in amazement. I looked at it in sheer horror. I was like, and then I ate a couple hot dogs.
That's
just to see.
Pretty accurate, right? I think that's everyone's experience, right?
But Gene, how would you if Kobayashi was down the street for a free autograph signing? Like, does he still have a celebrity status, even though maybe you have no idea what it is, you didn't you never watched it, but does Kobayashi still is he still famous to you? Is Joey Chestnut still famous to you?
No, I know the names, but I know the names because we do this. We're in sports and entertainment. And so from that standpoint, but if you drop Joey Chestnut in the middle of the South Bronx, I guess maybe, or Brooklyn, in certain areas, I don't know if he would resonate the same way he would resonate in Upper Manhattan.
That's interesting. I don't know. Man. I never would.
I would say he's probably more well known in Upper Manhattan than he is in Coney Island, which is actually probably an
hilarious.
Which probably goes with with what you're saying there. Yeah.
Well, he was on Survivor, wasn't he? Or Amazing Race. I mean, he might have that fame, so maybe it's unfair, but also unrelated.
We're talking about a guy who's got a 30 for 30. That's the other part. We're kind of speaking like it's such a niche thing. He has a 30 for 30. He's probably got an SB or two somewhere. Yeah. So I guess what started the conversation for me, and Benny, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, is one day the world is going to have our mouths open as well in shock, just like Joey Chestnut, because he's been dethroned. And at what point do you start to consider, because it's not traditional athlete stuff, right? It's kind of the thing where the older you get, you might get better at it because you're caring a little bit less about your health and your future, and maybe your belly's getting that's kind of what your body grows into that sport. It's the older you get. At what point do you start to say, I want to make money on that shocking moment, the I was there moment? Because listen, father time, man. We just saw it. We're going to get into this later in the show, hopefully, but we're going to talk about Draymond Green, father time catching up to him, the Warriors as we know them maybe being kind of broken up. At what point do you say, this is what I love about what we do, and what I love about Kalshi and Polymarket and all these things is you get to say, I called it, in a way that sports, everyone knows there's a winner and a loser, but when you get to look in and say, I knew the U.S. was going to announce that aliens exist before 2027. So you get to say on the 4th of July with all your people, I said he was going to lose. Do we start thinking about that at some point? Or do we just say this guy's just, some people aren't going to get buzzed off their spot until he decides he's going to step down?
Hey, the way I look at it is we're past that point. It's 91%. You mentioned it at the open of this. Like, you can't remember seeing anybody be a 91% favorite. You show me a 91% favorite in almost anything, I'm going to be looking for some way to beat him, because, you bet on a 91% favorite, you're going to make 9 cents on the dollar. So you bet $100, you're going to make $9 for betting on Joey Chestnut. You could bet $1 on pretty much everybody else here, or a couple bucks on anybody else here. You're going to make 15, 20, 30 times your money, up to 50, 100 times your money if somebody's 1%. So, the better risk reward right now is that, let's try to find somebody who could beat Joey Chestnut, somebody other than him winning, because he's obviously overbet as the favorite. Now, is he a deserving favorite? Absolutely. Should he be the shortest price of anybody on the board? 100%, but you never know what happens. Didn't he get disqualified one year for like dipping a hot dog or not dipping a hot dog or drink, like things like that happen?
There was something.
Maybe he went out drinking the night before and he's a little hungover and he throws up after his 27th hot dog or something like that. Any of those things is a loss for him.
Heat wave
winning,
You're in a heat wave, putting hot dogs down. Like, he might be used to certain environments. We don't know, and it's something worth thinking. Now, do I have the person? I'm going to back Crazy Legs just because I was reading FHM back in the day, Nando. I've been waiting for him to have his moment. I just saw the Knicks win a championship. Crazier things have happened.
I don't think Crazy Legs is in this. Look, he's not even in this.
He's number 2 on my thing.
Oh, I didn't think he was.
Crazy Legs.
You're right. Yeah, there he is. 10 cents.
My
he should be more like 1 cent.
My question is, and Benny, we've talked a lot about this just recently on some of the other sports stuff that we discussed, but how much do you have to wager for it to really be worth it? Right? Like, at the end of the day, we can all say, hey, we want to be on the side of saying I predicted, or I got my money in when the thing happens. But how much money are you really going to need to invest to be able to stand on your square and say, I had it, right? Because if you're betting we've talked about this already. I think we talked about it the last show. Show me the ticket. Like, don't tell me, oh, I knew, and then I get to your ticket and you had Crazy Legs Conti to win, and you wagered $1 on it, right? You invested $5 on it. To me, that's not saying you really think that it's going to happen. That's a lottery ticket. And so how often do you play the lottery until you hit it, right? Obviously, the odds are better than the lottery, but how much is it going to take for you to actually really feel like you beat the system, or you gamed the odds? Because $10 isn't going to do it.
But you know what? I mean, I think that is a question that really depends on the person, because for some people that may be enough. For some bets, like, again, if somebody's 91% to win and there's 7 or 8 other competitors in there, that means that those other guys can't be more than like a couple percentage points, themselves. So really, that's what you got to kind of think of and look at it that way. It's like, okay, well, if somebody is paying, if they're 10 cents, right? Like they're basically paying 10 to 1 or 9 to 1 to wind up winning. So you have to say to yourself, all right, well, if they did this 9 times, if the next 9 days these guys decided to get together for an hour and eat a bunch of hot dogs, is there a chance that one of these other guys does win? Now, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I have not dug deep enough into the hot dog contest to know that if whoever the second best hot dog eater out there is clearly better than the third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh, where really if something happens to Joey Chestnut, it's a lock that Crazy Legs Conti or whoever else is going to wind up winning this. Somebody else probably has that knowledge. I don't. But I will say this. If you're betting on Joey Chestnut, you're basically betting on him because you think there is 0% chance that this guy can lose because you're only making, 7-8% on whatever the amount of money you put in. So for somebody like that, who is 91%, for you to make any serious money on it, you'd have to put thousands of dollars in there for you to make anything more than enough to even afford a Nathan's hot dog. And honestly, I don't even know if it's worth it to do that because, again, there is always a chance that, he catches a heart attack on hot dog 17 or he dips it in his thing the wrong way and gets disqualified or, there are chances for him losing. So that's why I said if I'm betting anything on this, I'm actually trying to find somebody to beat him, even though it is un-American, to answer your question, Chris, to bet against him. It's un-American not to watch this thing, apparently, unless, Gene doesn't think so. But I would think it's un-American. I would also say this, too. Nobody really cared about this thing 25 years ago. It's been going on forever and ever, the Nathan's Hot Dog Contest. But once they put it on ESPN, now I think it has become part of that July 4th, along with fireworks and, picnics and everything else. So that's the way I kind of look at this thing. I watch it, but I kind of watch it almost like a car wreck where like you can't take your eyes off it. I mean, how often do you get to see somebody eat, 20 hot dogs in a minute? So that's the reason I'm not watching it because I think it's cool or it's a sporting event that I'm actually into. I'm actually watching it more in like awe of the fact that like if I have 2 hot dogs, I'm like, all right, I need a beer and a nap right now. But these guys are like, yeah, no, I'll have another 18 before I even stop. So we'll see.
And I'll take this opportunity to end on that note because I feel like we can get all the way into hot dog conversation the entire time, and I do want to spare all of you in the audience from that. But I just want to finish with you said something really funny just now that I never really thought about. We watch sports every day, right? And people criticize you got to make that pass, you got to shoot that shot. How do you miss an open net? But we watch the Nathan's Hot Dog Contest and say I could never do that. That's something that's really funny to me. Like, Gene, as someone who's played, how many times have you gotten post or, someone walk up to you and just say, oh, I could have done this or that, where like you could not. We hear stories about people challenging NBA players and UFC fighters. Can you kick me in the leg? And it's like, why do you think you can do that? What this professional athlete does? But when it's the Nathan's Hot Dog Contest, we all say that's a level of athleticism that I'm not able to reach.
Do we say it we can't do it, or do we acknowledge that we have no desire to do it?
That's a big part of it too,
right? Because I think people have
in
a
the driveway
desire.
stuffing hot dogs in their mouth and it's an 8-year-old in the driveway.
People have a desire to play basketball or to play football, and so in their brains they make themselves better than what they really are. But when it comes to like that, no one's like, yeah, nope. I want to scarf down 25 hot dogs in a minute and see what that feels like. I can tell you as a young kid, I remember eating 15 soft tacos like in one sitting. No timer, right? I felt like that was good, but that was me just sitting down, hanging out, talking noise, eating tacos like one after another. There was no timer there. There was no strategy. Like, I just feel like that would be so nauseating. Like, no,
I ate a pizza. I ate a pizza by myself once. I remember.
Once?
I'm like, I didn't think I could do that.
Well, isn't that like Tuesday? That's a Tuesday.
Like the first time, for the first time.
Literally yesterday when I told you guys I would do the rundown. That's what I was doing.
Nice.
I didn't,
full pie.
It wasn't like, can I do it? I was like, I'm still hungry. I think I'm gonna eat this whole thing by myself, and it's great. It was like one of the, it was H&S Giovanni's back in the day. Yeah.
Tell you what, you catch me after a wedding, like a little DoorDash order or something like that. I could compete with Joey Chestnut any day. Like if I'm like out at a night out.
Yes. Half of it's going to be on the couch. Half it's going to be in my mouth.
And then my very last note on this, and Benny, when you said about 15, 20 years ago, they started to pick up, that kind of puts Kobayashi and Chestnut into like a Magic Bird era, I feel like then, right? If it was something no one really talked about leading up to that, I think it's interesting we're still talking about it. But keeping on the theme of 4th of July, and I feel like, again, America is very much under a sports microscope right now. it kind of started with, and forgive me if this from 26, I have my timing messed up a little, but the U.S. hockey team obviously upsetting Canada was such a fun moment, right? And I feel like that lended itself a lot to U.S. soccer right now, and obviously we have the World Cup going on. We're all a little biased because we're kind of swimming in the wake of that Knicks championship and the energy that's come with it, basically from the semifinals on. It's been just absolute, bedlam here in New York, New Jersey, North Jersey. We're right next to the Meadowlands. All of us could throw a football and hit it, and with what goes on and everything that comes with that. So you have a lot of excitement kind of built around it. Do we feel like, and you'll kind of see where I'm going with this, because another thing, and it's pretty not American as well, I guess, but I associate Wimbledon a little bit with the 4th of July too. It's kind of grass season if anyone watches tennis. And it's got me thinking, like, if you watch the Australian Open at all, and the past, for anyone who's really not totally in tune with tennis, Yannick Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz have been dominating the sport. Obviously Djokovic has been sprinkled in here again. With Alcaraz having injury concerns, Yannick Sinner, I think he's actually in trouble right now in one of the qualifying matches leading up to Wimbledon. At least went a little bit further with an unranked opponent. I'm seeing an opportunity, if you're reading the tea leaves just culturally, of all the U.S. stuff that's going on. Justin Gaethje and had that really cool moment in the White House where nobody gave him a shot, including myself. You have the Ben Sheltons, the Tommy Pauls, Taylor Fritz's. I didn't see Tiafoe's name on there. I don't know if he's dealing with an injury or something like that. I didn't get deep enough into it. But can we possibly see? We haven't seen an American win a major, I think, since it would have been. I'm having a hard
Pete
time.
Sampras.
No, it was after. Who's the good-looking guy married to supermodel?
Are we talking about
Andy
men
Roddick?
only?
Andy Roddick, I think, would be the last one that would have won. And that's probably like 15 years. Yeah, we're talking men's. Yeah, women's, obviously. Okay. We have some amazing women tennis players. But we haven't had a man, any men really make a real run, or even, I think, Shelton's last one even in a final. But I don't know if you've been paying attention to Ben Shelton, and obviously Trinity Rodman and their relationship is getting a lot of, they're putting them in more of a national spotlight, which I think is amazing for American tennis, because it's an amazing sport. And I think a lot of that sort of, a lot of the excitement, you're going to start to see it, hopefully, if the U.S. team makes a deep run. We saw what happens when the women's team won years and years ago, right, in Atlanta. Was it Atlanta or L.A.? When they won, and the women's soccer team has never looked back, right? You see Venus and Serena and Coco Gauff and on all the ladies that represent America so well, and on the tennis side, you see how well the ladies do. You kind of need that North Star, right, of someone where you could look at and say, oh, it's possible, and I'm going to try. And now you're seeing homegrown talent on the U.S. men's soccer team. They might be able to make a deeper run than we're used to them seeing. And it feels like right time for somebody like, and my pick would be Ben Shelton. I picked Ben Shelton to win in Wimbledon. I think it would be a massive moment in sports. And I think it would really kind of keep the conversation going that we're maturing and we're not just a football, basketball kind of and baseball specific nation. Am I talking crazy? Do we feel like there's an American outside of Ben Shelton that could really get the noise going? Because I think it's a great individual sport that we could really get behind, even more so than hot dog eating. You like Shelton over Fritz? I do. I think Fritz and Paul, I think, kind of fold in those bigger moments. I think they're really good against people like themselves, but I think once you get into the top five guys, the Sinners and the Zverevs and the actually I don't want to mess his name up, the Canadian dude Felix Aguilar Alasame, he's awesome, very long dude. You have guys that are a little bit harder to beat when you get to that pinnacle, and I think Shelton just has that. Excuse the kind of super generic term, but he's a dog. He wants to compete. He wants to piss you off. He wants to get in your head. He's got a serious serve and just this competitive edge that just feels very real and that I haven't seen since you mentioned Pete Sampras before, Nando, and kind of what you see in that killer instinct that you see with Alcaraz and Sinner. You kind of see a little bit of that in Shelton. And just that's why I like him over the other Americans in the pool. I like Tiafoe typically, but I don't see him in here. He's a 3%. Okay.
I mean, I like Ben Shelton's girlfriend for sure. Like, he has won, or he is winning, because these things are fluid.
Got to put a ring on it.
Yeah, he is winning, and I think that his girlfriend is a perfect understanding of why we have not seen men win like at a major level in tennis over, I mean, since Andy Roddick or whatever it was, you know, back when guys were, you know, at least fighting to be that dude. And I haven't seen the interest for men's tennis grow outside of its core audience. I think that the reason that we've seen women's tennis take the next step is because you saw a Venus and Serena, which then inspired the next generation of people who looked or grew up like Venus and Serena. For the, you know, for the masses in America, at least, tennis is still very much a country club type of sport, and it comes with a price tag that most can't afford. So there needs to be some type of inspiration there that shows it. We're seeing the byproducts of professional athletes from football and basketball and their offspring playing soccer, their offspring playing hockey, right? Like we're seeing playing baseball. Like we're seeing those young men and those young men infiltrate those sports that we hadn't seen in generations prior. Where is that in tennis? Like where even if we're just talking about the major players in tennis, like where's Pete Sampras' son? Or, you know, like where's the person who was the guy who then has an offspring who takes that legacy to the next level? I don't think we've seen it at any type of level for the men, and that's why we've seen it become kind of stagnant. Does Ben Shelton dating like a really beautiful, you know, super talented soccer player who has a father who's one of the most famous and really, really good basketball players to ever play, does that help him win Wimbledon? I don't know.
What I like about Shelton as that person that can inspire the next generation is exactly what you're saying. I think he is an evergreen looking person where everyone can look at him and feel something to relate to him, right? Like I couldn't really nail down what he is ethnicity wise at all. So that's somebody that can inspire everybody, right? You have a girlfriend who has a father who is directly associated with two things, and that's aggression and winning, right? You have somebody that's like, you don't play with that dude because he's going to beat you on the court, and you'd rather him beat you on the court than anywhere else. You don't want to see him in a parking lot. You don't want to see him in a bar. That's a bad dude. And she moves with grace, and you know, she brought out the soccer ball. She's a good representative of larger things. So I think to see them in a version where they're in the Met Gala and things like that, and they are kind of taking on that alternative Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce role, if you will, but in a more approachable way, I think that can get people to talk about them and talk about tennis more importantly. And again, you have somebody, I don't know if you guys have watched him play. I don't know if he's got great arms. I don't know if anybody's watched him play. He's very much of that, like Nick Curios, whatever. Sorry. Almost John McEnroe cloth of he's in your face. He wants to talk trash to you. He wants to get in your head. He wants to piss you off. He wants to talk to the crowd. He wants to be booed. And I think that's when America and Americans, that's who they rally around. They rally around the people that are like 1 versus a million. They love that Jon Snow taking out the sword with all the horses coming at you, right? And
Shelton does not give me Jon Snow vibes.
Don't go off that. Don't go off that. Don't go off that.
No, but you know, Chris is bringing up something that's kind of important here too about this, right? Like, if you start thinking back in the history of tennis and you know, tennis in the United States and all that stuff, there are probably more people out there who remember Andre Agassi than remember Pete Sampras. And Pete Sampras was a way better tennis player than Andre Agassi was. But Agassi had the commercials and the flash and the appeal. So if you really want the young kids to get into, you know, to get into tennis, like I'll give a good example. My kid plays golf. I don't play golf. But my kid plays golf because he grew up, all his friends grew up, you know, Tiger Woods, America, golf, all that stuff. And, you know, now it's like kind of like a big deal. you need that guy that captures the masses' attention. And whether it is in the way of being a great tennis player like a Sampras was, or whether it's in the way of being a great tennis player and also having like some kind of personality, like a John McEnroe is a good example of taking the Agassi side and the Sampras side and putting it together. You have a guy who has crossover appeal. I mean, McEnroe's probably been in like 50 different shows that I've watched in the past 20 years. He does guest spots and everything over there. And then you also had a guy, though, that won. So I think you kind of need both of those things, Like Anna Kournikova, everybody remembers her name, but she never won anything. So she never had a following. But we all know her name because of, all the reasons why we know her name.
Oh, no. She had a following. No. Let's clean up. She had a following, and she made a bajillion dollars. She made a ton of money because of that. Here's the interesting part.
She wasn't bad, though.
No, she wasn't bad. Here's the interesting part, though. Right? We said that we don't know what we look at Ben Shelton, we don't know what he is. We should. Right? We should. Because we as a country, we get behind direction, right? We should. Manzo, what's Ben Shelton's best quality as a tennis player?
I would say his serve, but I like his approach to the game is what I like the most about him.
Is it Andy Roddick?
No, it's far more of that.
We get behind weapons. So he's a amoeba looking guy. His father's a black man, used to be a tennis player, former University of Florida tennis coach, by the way, if you don't know.
He was his coach, his son's coach.
Retired from collegiate coaching to only coach his son, right? Not the same exactly, but kind of Venus and Serena-ish, like bringing his son up in the game. We haven't heard a word about it. Nobody's really talked about it. What's the story that we get behind other than he's dating a smoke show? And it's got to be more than that. It's got to be more than you're dating Trinity Rodman, who we all would love to be like. Trinity Rodman looks like, and this is why, by the way, this is why Trinity Rodman is so popular. It's not just because she's beautiful, because I think people are late to the she's beautiful train. It's because she feels like the girlfriend that guys would want to have. Cool, laid back, down to earth, even though parent had a wild and crazy parent, never seemed to, she's just kind of in her lane. Like, what's the thing that's going to draw us to Ben Shelton? To Ben Shelton, that's going to make us endear to him. We loved Andy Roddick. We loved Pete Sampras because they had those serves and those things were out of the world. We loved Andre Agassi because he was just like this dogged, determined, never. Like, it felt like Andre Agassi was always punching up. He felt like the underdog all the time. Very similar to Jimmy Connors in a way, right? Like we gravitated to those people as tennis players because they gave us something that we could latch on to and ride behind. Tiger Woods is Tiger Woods because he had something that no one else seemed to have. Like you couldn't make a course that he couldn't just make look like a putt golf course. Like, he was so dominant, so quick, and that he didn't have to be unapologetically black. We made him unapologetically black, right? Like, he didn't even want to have that. He didn't even want to have that stigma attached to him.
He was talking about the hot dog eating contest.
Yeah. He made it that. So I think in order to get behind someone, you're going to have some type of direction that we follow.
And I think you're nailing you're hitting the nail on the head, because his play style, I just sent Nando an article. Yeah. He gets accused of literally hitting the ball at their chest. He doesn't even want and again, you have that Dennis Rodman, comparison just kind of by association, and it gives him that edge, I think, organically, to see that on grass where everyone's wearing white, to see that in Wimbledon of here's an American who just finger to the sky, saying, I'm going to hit it right into your chest. That's how I'm going to beat you. And my beautiful girlfriend's going to make sure that she's going to polish me and make sure that I'm approachable and I can still get into a nice room. But trust me, I'm not the guy that you see hugging in the weekly magazines, because you watch him play, he comes off disrespectful, but he comes off really, really not arrogant.
He looks like,
not cocky. He comes off confident in a way that's like, I've been waiting for you. Where the hell have you been? Where you're all those names you just mentioned balled into one. And then here's the one point I want to make before we move on. I want to hand it off to you guys after this. What I love about what you said is that it's a country club sport, right? It's probably the most approachable sport outside of basketball that there is, because you could turn any basketball court into a tennis court. And all you need is a net, or even a line of chairs or anything. With all the pickleball courts that are in this world, all they need is inspiration. All you need, if you're from an area where country clubs aren't readily available to you, is a racket, a ball, and someone to make you care about it. And I think that's where you're going to get these dudes that want to come up and say, I want to be like him. I look like him. I act like him. I want a girlfriend like his. And I want to break these Europeans' ass in tennis because I don't like the way they talk about me. I don't like the way they're treating him, whatever. And I think you get that by inspiring people, right? So you don't need a country club to play tennis. I think that's what, but again, you need someone to turn on that light bulb in your head to say, oh, I could be like him just by going down the street. And
Wimbledon would do it.
Yep.
Wimbledon would definitely do it.
That's the stage.
You know what? And I don't even think he has to win it. I don't think he has to win it. I think that person, everything you said, Manzo, just has to come out on that stage.
Yeah.
But if he makes a nice run, like if he makes a semifinal run and that comes out, it gets the attention of us over here a lot more. Like, we didn't jump on the bandwagon once Sloan, like once the ladies who were winning, like, we didn't wait until they won. We got on when they started making big runs. And so I think that's what they need. We need to see that's what we need. We need to see a big run out of him. And if so, then the advertisers will come more, like the people who get him more involved in the culture. Like, I think you'll start to see that push more.
I don't think there's ever been a better time, in my opinion, and there might be some in the future, but as of right now, to bet on an American, and I don't think there's a better one to bet on than him for this particular tournament, because of how weird the state of tennis has been in the previous majors. You have Noah Alcaraz, who is if he could, I'm worried about his health pretty much for good now, because every single year we're worried about something. I don't think he's ever played in all four majors. And then you have Joker, who just dropped he was up 3-1. I think he dropped a 3-1 set to a relative unknown, at least as far as my level of tennis knowledge is concerned. You have Sinner, who's been super inconsistent. If he can get knocked out before he sees Shelton, or if Shelton can even beat him, I think it would just be a massive moment. And again, it feels very much bubbling at the surface when you look at the bigger picture of U.S. hockey team beating Canada. Didn't feel possible. You have, again, a really exciting homegrown American team in the U.S. World Cup. You have a really other Olympians who really stood out this past winter. You had, again, just a big underdog year between the Seahawks. It feels a little bit, when you look at Sinner and Alcaraz, if you look at them together, like the Chiefs this year, of like, oh, anyone can win. And this is open to anybody now, because the king's not the king right now. It's not going to stay that way. But it's just an exciting time to do it. Before we move on, I don't know if anybody had anything left on that.
I mean, if I'm following you guys and you seem to know what you're talking about, I mean, right on the screen, the $20 on Shelton, who you feel very confident could win this. And again, we talk about this all the time. Like, put the $20 down now. You win $268 if he wins. But even if he looks good over the next week or so, that 7%, that 8% goes up to 40.
And he's top 5 in the entire field to win the thing. So it's not like we're sitting here scratching lottery tickets saying it would be so amazing. It's
8% is less than 8% is less than anyone else in the hot dog field to win.
That's a good
and I know that sounds ridiculous, but I mean, like, yeah, if you're looking at what we've been talking about today, like, Crazy Legs Conti is still like 15%, and like, it's not going to happen. Like, Chestnut is the only way I could see that happening. And I hate to say this out loud, but like, if you look at the rules, if Chestnut does not compete, that goes, it's fine. It doesn't go away. Like, the no wins on that. Like, if Chestnut doesn't show up for it, if Chestnut gets hurt, or sick or something, or is convinced to not compete, that 9 cent no blows up and then the field's open again. even if you do that, it's not like Crazy Legs is 2 cents like he should be. And maybe the market's still too small because it's not close enough to the 4th of July yet, but it's not in our heads yet. But like, this is like a guy that you're all agreeing could win this thing at 8%, relative to maybe the last 45 minutes.
Hey, by the way, while we've been on air,
yeah,
Ben Shelton went from 6% to 8%.
There you go. We're marking overs.
We got to stop talking.
If we're talking about it, real quick before you go on Manzo, realistic prediction for how far you think Ben Shelton gets before there's a legitimate shot he loses.
I think he could be in the semifinal. Like I would bet that he goes to the semifinal. I would go with that.
So to me, an actionable play would be if you like him to win it, right? Put some real legitimate investment into him. Ride him out until the semifinal, because at that point he has a 1 in 4 chance of winning, right? Just legitimate. He has a 1 in 4 chance to win it. His odds will have gone from 8% to 45% or whatever it is at that point in time, 33%. Cash out, because you're going to make like it's 11 or 12 to 1 on your money if you bet him right now if he wins it all. But if you get to the semifinal and you're able to get 5 to 1 out of your money, and say you invested $100, you got $500, right? Yep. So, like, I think that's the way to play it if you really have legitimate, belief in him to make a run, which I do. I think he has a legitimate shot to make a run. I'd love to see it.
I'll be putting I already did put some money on it, but I'm going to double down just because we're talking about it now.
Look at that.
I want to say I did it.
Just a little breaking news here. Brazil just tied it up 1-1, so that's both teams to score there, Cash and Gene, and then whoever gets the next goal will put us over that. We're over 2.5. So it worked out right? Exactly as we thought. So
exactly as we thought it would. Yep.
So far, so good.
Yep. Let's get Brazil to go ahead and do it. And ladies and gentlemen, you're welcome.
Look at this. Look at this flip. Watch it. I'm sorry. I just sorry, Chris. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good.
I was looking at the chart. Look at that.
You're excited.
Flip.
Look at that.
Yep.
That's quite the chart.
It flipped right back to what they thought it would be.
I'm gonna be honest. Japan's the bet right now. If it's down to 26%, that's where the money should be going right now.
Yeah.
Because the game's tied up. You got what 30? What are they like the 57th minute, something like that, right? Yep. 50. Is it 60 yet? So you only got 30 minutes left. There's a good chance Japan just kind of parks the bus here, tries to counterattack, and then tries to
get into
extra time and
penalty kicks.
Penalty kicks, yeah. So
they're losing in penalty kicks, but
looks like
Brazil should win in penalty kicks, but we'll see. You never know. It comes down to goalies a lot of time. You get a hot goalie during penalty kicks, and same thing. And they got a shot. They got a better than 26%.
I was about to say they're definitely live.
Shot.
They're a live dog for sure.
This is not the same Brazil team that we grew up with.
No. They're not the same, but they do have some elements individually that make them still great. Like this is not the same Brazil team, because I don't think they're as cohesive as they normally are, but they still have individual talents that are. And so if you get into a penalty shootout with Brazil, you're likely going to have one of those guys miss in order for you to win. It's not going to be because your goalie stopping them.
Yeah.
So Gene, does that become part of the strategy where you have to look at a team that has more individual talent and say, you know what, I don't see them maybe winning by 2 or 3 goals like you see in some of the other matches, even when they're heavily favored. They might be looking for that moment where just they're hoping to get themselves to a point where a shootout is where they're going to shine, and they just want to keep it kind of manageable? Or do you think am I reading a little too far into it? As someone who's really kind of far removed from international soccer.
I think you're looking for the stoppage time and the extra time, because normally the teams with more talent, they have more talent, so they have more stamina. And so the further you get into a game, the teams that rely on that one guy to score all their goals, like you're a Norway, they're going to be more susceptible, because that one guy isn't the same guy that he was at the beginning of the match. And so you try to get into extra time, stoppage time. If you've noticed in the World Cup this year, and I wish I was keeping a record, but there have been a ton of goals scored in stoppage time, right? A ton of goals scored after 90 minutes, because in your mind, you get to 90 and you kind of just let up off the gas a little bit, And these teams with players who are phenomenal all over the pitch, they just keep coming. They're like, all I need is one shot and one opening, and I'm gonna shoot you dead. So I think that's where it is. And then when you get into penalty kicks, these teams with the one striker, they're just gonna get beat. They don't have enough talent as penalty kickers to outlast these teams who might have 4. Like France has 4, Spain has 5 or 6 guys who are like the primary penalty kicker on their club team, or when they play, at some point in their life, that's what they did. They were the go-to guy. Some of these other places, they don't have that.
The other thing you got to look at too is also just the strategy, right? Like the Japan scoring first here is what Gene and I were talking about earlier today, and that's why he mentioned it on air. You're not going to keep Brazil, even this Brazil team, right? Who I agree with Nando is not the Brazil of, all the guys that we remember growing up and, all those guys that were, when Brazil was amazing. But Japan scoring first, you weren't going to keep Brazil completely off the board for 90 minutes. Like that just wasn't going to happen. So Japan scoring first almost guaranteed that we were going to get both teams to score a goal, because that now Brazil is going to be pushing and offensively kind of playing a little harder to at least get that one that ties it up. And the reason why we're both excited about the over 2.5 is I don't think they're done scoring in these games. I think Japan is going to try to park the bus, but Brazil just proved that they can score against you when you're parking the bus. So they could get another goal here. And again, if they're stretching a little bit, trying to win this game in regulation and not have it go to, extra time and penalty kicks and all that, they could leave themselves the door open, for the counterattack on the other way. So the strategy that teams have changes depending on how the game is too. Like if this was still 1-0 Japan going into the 70th minute, I'd be like, oh, that over 2.5 is done. We're cooked. I'm selling out of that. Let me take, if I can still get 20, 30 cents of my dollar of the bet, let's get out of that right now. But right now, I definitely think there's at least one more goal in this game. I do not think this game is going to penalty kicks unless they both score in the next couple minutes.
Hey, we got about 7 minutes until our hard out at 2:30. We like to keep it 1 hour, keep it nice and tight for everybody. You can set your clocks by the show. Just letting Chris know, because
a lot of
material. I was going to say we have 6 minutes by the time I'm done asking the question. We're not going to be able to get to everything. Are you guys more interested in Grand Theft Auto or Draymond Green while we're talking about ways to punch people in the face?
I could put up more Ben Shelton photos while you decide.
There's plenty of. You didn't do him any justice, by the way.
He looks like a kid from High School Musical.
No, you don't want to with Ben Shelton. I promise you.
You don't. This is not Jon Snow. Hold on. This is not Jon Snow. He just needs more publicity.
He just needs more publicity. He needs one of those photo shoots. No, he just needs one of those photo shoots where a stylist gets with him and puts him in some real legitimate stuff. And then he sees the reaction from it, and he'll just go out and just buy and get a stylist, and that's how he'll look in public all the time. That's all it is.
I think, though, Nando, there's something to the sociopath athlete that's able to come off as the boyfriend that everyone's, the golden retriever boyfriend, but the minute he steps on the grass, clay, or asphalt or whatever it might be, he's just that you're not doing him any favors. No favors. Yeah. Is this his Instagram?
And by the way, Trinity Rodman's not going for a square. If we're just being honest, Trinity Rodman's not grabbing a square.
Yeah.
She's got too much of her daddy inside of her.
I'm not saying he's a square, but you got to peel back layers to get to Trinity Rodman. You know what I mean? Like if I don't know who Ben Shelton was, like
peeled back some layers and got to Trinity Rodman. That's sure.
Well, you know what I mean? Like, all right. I'm saying this in the most innocent way possible.
Why?
Like, if you look up Ben Shelton, you look at this guy, you're like, oh, this is just like some rich kid from a Disney movie. You know what I mean? He's like the villain in the Disney movie. He's not like, and Chris sent me that link. Like, he plays dirty and tries and hits people. Like, all right, cool, great.
It's funny because my introduction to him was during the U.S. Open. I went a day early. I went to the earlier matches, and I just was like, let me hit the blogs. Let me see who I should be looking out for. I've been starving for someone I can get behind because I was a Nick Kyrgios guy, which is for someone I liked a lot. Again, I like the outliers, especially in these country club style sports. So I was like, who is somebody I could really get behind? But I kind of feel a little guilty. Like Alcaraz, yeah, he could, but he's more like you have to watch him. You have to be impressed. You have to love watching him play, right? But like, who's someone that I could feel like is my home team? And it was his first major tournament, and apparently he had a lot of buzz coming out of college. So like, let me check this dude out. And my introduction to him was somebody who he came off as an aggressive, angry person to me until I saw him in the public eye and like, oh, he's like a sweet kid. But so my introduction to him was him on the court. And I think it's funny to see somebody on the other side of it look at him as kind of like soft, because I think that's what you need to be a star, right? You have elements of both, and both of them are going to appeal to whoever you're looking for. Like if you could be Draymond Green and Steph Curry at the same time, it's a pretty impressive athlete.
Yeah.
I've only known about the guy for an hour, so maybe my opinion doesn't matter. But
I mean, Steph Curry's like that.
If you're trying
Steph
to
Curry's like that.
Yeah, but Steph Curry, yeah.
He's gooberish.
He's doing this.
He's gooberish looking off the court, like especially when he was younger, like pre-beard and grizzle. He looked like the just little. What is this dude going to do? And then he got on the court and he just cut your heart out, right? Like
he looked like he looked like he needed a meal when he was at Davidson. Like he looked malnourished. And you're like, oh, wait, he grew up in a nice home. Clearly. Is that
Curry's kid.
Then you see Russell Westbrook and KD and all that, that Thunder, the way he stole the souls of the Thunder teams, the Rockets teams, all that. That's what made him a killer. And like, I don't know, I just think I see a lot of that in Shelton, but you also get that Draymond vocal during the game in your face with him, which I think makes a really unique. That's who's built, in my opinion, to capture the attention of America in a way that like all fans in both Americas can look at and say, that's my guy. I see it in him. And I don't see it in almost any other athlete across sports.
I don't want to take this off topic. This is still kind of topic, but somewhere along the way, I was some U.S. women's team. And I'm like, who's Sophia Wilson? You know, Sophia Smith is married to the Cardinals wide receiver, Michael Wilson. Gene, I didn't know that. I'm like,
I'm plugged into these things. Trust me.
I guess so, man.
You want to know who Mallory Pugh's married to?
Yeah, she's Justin Pugh, right? It's Mallory Swanson, right?
It's Mallory Swanson.
Yeah,
I didn't want to say Mallory Swanson. That would have gave it away.
Right? Well, yeah.
Hey, so I want to hop in. I want to hop in here real quick on a question that Chris asked. I would much rather talk about Grand Theft Auto, to be perfectly honest with you. But I do want to mention, the Draymond Green thing, because I think it's a little bit more important here. There are rumors coming out that Draymond is going to be traded, and I do think that there is. But listen to it here, because I said no at first too. But there's the only thing that makes sense to me. If they really are moving on from LeBron James, Draymond Green to the Lakers and LeBron to Golden State is actually something that I could see happening. Now, there are going to be more pieces, obviously, that are coming one way or another in that deal. But Steph and LeBron are friends. They both grew up in Ohio. They're both from kind of the same place. They've always wanted to play together there. And if you really think about it, on a team that has Luka Doncic, what you really need, you don't need another guy that can put the ball in the basket. You need a guy who's going to play defense, because Luka's not going to do it. You need somebody who could be a physical presence and kind of protect him, because teams are going to be after him. I know there's going to need to be other pieces that go along with it to make it work, but I don't think it's so crazy after thinking about it for a little bit.
And that's a team, we're going to end in a second, but that's a team that's okay being a 6 seed because they have that experience to not care if they're starting on the road. They don't need to press all season to get that 1 seed home court advantage. The reports are they're going after Anthony Davis and LeBron James and to get rid of Draymond and Jimmy Butler. That's a team that's super fragile, but they're saying, listen, let's not be a play-in team, and we have the composure to get anywhere we want to be, because look who we have. We have the Olympic team.
Well, the Jimmy Butler thing is that they're probably going to try to sit Jimmy Butler for the season, because they're going to want to try to recoup the money that you get from the from insurance when the guy's out for a year, or for the full year, to be able to utilize it. The Draymond thing, they said that he just opted out of his contract to become a free agent, and that there is talk of him doing that in order to facilitate getting LeBron James and then the team trading for Anthony Davis. The problem with Draymond and LeBron on the same team, or Draymond and Luka on the same team, is that Draymond's only offensive efficiency is when he has the ball in his hand. So if he's not the point forward, then how is he going to exist on a team? He can't shoot. He doesn't go by anybody to make layups. Like, he doesn't have a finish package per se. He doesn't have the athleticism that he had when he was younger, and he didn't have that much athleticism then. So like, I think that it would be, I'm not saying it can't happen, but if you put him on the same team with a Luka, or you put him, he comes back to the Warriors, and then you add LeBron for a discounted price, the question just becomes how then do they exist together? Because LeBron would be who I would put on Golden State to replace Draymond, because now you get Draymond but in a 22, 24 point, package, as opposed to
same IQ, a lot more scoring.
Yeah, with an offensive game. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's interesting because, LeBron and AD back together, and then you add Steph Curry to it. Like, sign me up for that. I'd love to see it.
At the very least, I'll watch it. Hey guys, this is listen, I could sit here and talk all day. The boss says we gotta go. All right.
Yep.
You got an hour left. All right. The Tony Stark says the Avengers are disassembling. That means that we disassemble. So what I'm gonna do is leave you guys with the last word. Thank you very much again for being patient with me as we figured out my microphone and me coming on for the very first time with you gentlemen. So we'll make more of a habit of it, and we'll talk some GTA soon.